Hi folks, first of all, really well done for all the great effort shown over the last few weeks. Not only with the assignments, but it's also been good to see so many of you submitting written work that is very well presented. So very well done. If you haven't managed to complete the tasks from the last 2 weeks, you can still submit this work. Better to be late than never. This week we're continuing our work on the elements and periodic table topic. You will see from the learning intentions and success criteria that this week we are learning about mixtures and compounds. So by the end of the week we should be able to state what is meant by a mixture, state what is meant by a compound, and give examples of mixtures and compounds. I'm going to start off by showing you this little bit here. So far we have learned about elements. All elements are found in the periodic table. The reason that they are found in the periodic table is because elements are substances that only can have one type of atom. This means that it's a substance where all the atoms are exactly the same. The animations that you can see on your screen give 2 examples showing elements, because all of the atoms in each example are exactly the same. Sometimes the atoms are all on their own, like the yellow circles that appear on the left. Sometimes the atoms appear as part of a molecule, like the white circles on the right. It doesn't matter if the atoms are on their own or part of a molecule. What's important is that all the atoms in both examples are exactly the same as each other, and this is what makes these elements. And then, like we said over the last couple of weeks, all elements are found in the periodic table. We don't obviously find every substance in the universe in the periodic table, and that's because not every substance is an element. Not every substance has just one type of atom. If I give you an example of a bag of Skittles, you have different varieties of Skittle in the one bag. Collectively, these are not similar to elements, because elements have to just have the one type of atom. All the atoms have to be the same. To show this with Skittles, if I was to take all the red Skittles out of the packet and put them together, those would represent an element because they are all the same type. If all types are together, if all types of Skittles are in the same bag together, then we no longer have something similar to an element because all varieties are different. So if a substance has different types of atoms all mixed in together, all together, these are no longer elements. If you have a substance that has more than one type of atom, then you either have a mixture or a compound. Now if I have a bag of Skittles, I have different varieties that are all together. If I wanted to, I could separate out all the red ones and put them in a group. I could take out all the orange ones and put them in a group. I could take out yellow ones and put them in a group. Because I'm able to separate them, because all of the individual Skittles are not joined to any others, because I can separate them into groups, that would make a bag of Skittles a mixture. On your screen, you can see examples of mixtures. They are not elements because all the atoms are different types. They are a mixture because you have different types of atom and they can all be separated away from each other. If I was to take all of my Skittles and put them in a container and heat them up, heating them up would cause the Skittles to join together, and I would no longer be able to separate them out into a pile of red Skittles, a pile of orange Skittles, a pile of yellow Skittles, and so on, because they're now joined. This wouldn't represent an element because I have different varieties of Skittles. It also would no longer represent a mixture because the Skittles are no longer able to be separated away from each other. What I would have now instead is something called a compound. A compound is when you have different types of atom and they are joined to another different type of atom. Elements, like we saw at the start, only have one type of atom. A mixture is when you have different types of atoms, but they are not joined together. A compound is when you have different types of atom and they are joined together. So those are the three differences between the types of substance that we can find. An element is where all the atoms are identical. A mixture is when the types of atoms are different and they can be separated. A compound is when the types of atoms are different but they can't be separated because they're joined or bonded together. As usual this week you'll find a checklist telling you the tasks for this week. If you're watching this video, well done, you're already completing task 1, which you can find again to rewatch if you want to by clicking on the link here. You'll also find the link to this video in the Teams page. Your second task for the week is another video to introduce the idea of mixtures and compounds. So if you click on this link from the checklist, it will take you to a YouTube video which looks like this and will explain in more detail elements, compounds and mixtures. The next task on the list, you're going to read the information found in this Word document, which you can find by going to Files, number 1 folder called Elements and Periodic Table, another folder, number 3, Elements Tasks Week 3, and says 1st of February, and it's a Word document called Mixtures and Compounds. You can also find information from the PowerPoint that will be in this same folder. Similar to previous weeks, when you open up the Word document, you're going to read the information and you're going to copy and complete the paragraphs of information that have the missing words. On this page, it highlights types of substances called mixtures and compounds. If it's a mixture, it means it has different varieties of atom and you can separate it. If it's a compound, it means it has different varieties of atoms, but you can't separate these from each other. This is shown in the wee example of iron and sulfur atoms. If you have a mixture, you can take out all the yellow sulfur atoms and you can keep them separate from all the grey iron atoms. So we can see that there's two different types of atoms, but they can be separated from each other, and that's what we would call a mixture. So read through the information and fill in the blanks for the paragraphs with the missing words. There's also a summary. Again, you're going to read the information and fill in the blanks. The last activity is looking at the diagrams and deciding whether they are an element, a mixture, or a compound, and putting the correct letter beside each picture. And the final task is you're going to come up with some everyday examples of mixtures and compounds. So these are everyday substances that you might find that are not in the periodic table because they are not elements, but they are substances which are mixtures or compounds. Once you've completed the work in the Word document that I've just shown you, either by writing the answers in your jotter or by downloading your own copy of the Word document and typing the answers into your own copy, you're going to then go to this page on BBC Bitesize and you're going to try the quiz that appears on that page. It should look something like this. It's got information about elements, and if you scroll through using the arrows, you'll be able to find information on compounds and a small video. You'll be able to see a little bit more about chemical symbols, a wee bit more about chemical symbols and formula, and then molecules of mixtures and compounds. Once you've looked at the information, you can then tap on test and you can try some of the test questions, and it will mark your answers at the end and tell you which ones you've got correct, and you can try this as many times as you like. Your next task on the list is to make a poster. This can be digital or on paper. You can show the differences between elements, compounds and mixtures. You can then upload your poster to the Assignments tab. And the final task for the week will be an assignment quiz, also available on the Assignments tab later in the week, so that everybody's got a chance to try the tasks above first. As usual, let me know on Teams if you've got any questions, and I'll speak to you all soon.